come on, the United States goes to war against Canada. I was going to cover this movie eventually.
Son, we accidentally replaced your heart with a baked potato. You have about 3 seconds to live.
South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut.
Tell him we'll have punch and pack. We're not gonna have punch and pie. My bill will come if they think we have punch and pack. Ooh. We've got to see this movie, dude.
Hello there everybody, it's me, the Canadian Movie Buff, with a review of South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. After the boys go see an R-rated movie featuring their favorite comedic Canadian duo that's full of bad language, Kyra's mom starts a campaign to rally the country against Canada. Although South Park isn't the only adult animated show to run for over 20 years, they're the only ones who successfully manage to stay on top in current trends and news. And they don't try to capitalize on cheap memes or references, they actually try and make a genuine parody of what's going on. And while they do it in a way that's offensive, there's also a sense of genuine heart to it as well. With their first feature-length film being a little over 20 years, I figure it's now a good time to go back and see how it holds up. And it is almost as timeless as it was when it first released back in 1999. What this movie absolutely nails on the head is the idea of certain interest groups trying to censor or control what is put out there in media. It's something that's relevant even today. There's always some overzealous group that's trying to control what goes into movies and TV or even books just as a source of protection. Back then, it was mothers trying to protect their children from violence and language. Nowadays, it's people who think saying the wrong word will lead to mass violence. The demographics and the people may change, but the idea remains the same. Now, a lot of fans of South Park already know that Trey Parker and Matt Stone are creators of The Book of Mormon, the musical. Now, looking at this movie, it's easy to see how they started to develop those skills at both comedy and musical. Then again, this movie did come out at the end of the Disney Renaissance, so it makes sense to have an adult animated film that sort of parodied that musical structure. But for what it's worth, some of the songs are actually pretty catchy and well written. They add to the story and keep it moving, and they are pretty funny to boot. The most infamous being, of course, "Shut your ugly face, Uncle your Uncle Stuff like this is why South Park has been around for as long as it has been. They may be funny, but they also have something meaningful to say as well. And the scope of the movie does feel like an epic. Even though it's barely 90 minutes long, it wouldn't have felt right to present this story in a trio of episodes. The way the story is told and the production value that went into this movie does justify it being a theatrical film. As timeless as the story and the themes may be, it has aged a bit. A subplot deals with Saddam Hussein being in a relationship with Satan. Now, at the time this movie was released, Saddam Hussein's death was still a very recent event. If this movie came out in the past few months, it would be the leader of ISIS, and if it came out in 2011-2012, it would be Osama bin Laden. The jokes hit more back then than it does now. While the animation of the show has now moved on to being computer generated, while maintaining that early, rough, cutout design, the early seasons of the show were a combination of computer generation and handmade cutout. And that early animation is more prevalent in this film, and it feels more blocky and very... It does not age well. To put it in perspective, it's like the Nintendo 64 graphics. It's quote-unquote revolutionary, but looking back, it is just rough. Like, oof. South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut is a delightfully offensive gem from the end of the 90s. I'd say we're long overdue for a sequel, but the way the things are going, we probably don't need one. Back when this movie came out, the show was still a bunch of one-off standalone episodes, but now the seasons have become to the point where they have overarching stories with lasting consequences, like Mr. Garrison becoming the President of the United States, or Randy starting a marijuana farm. Maybe we will get another South Park movie, but knowing Trey Parker and Matt Stone, they most likely won't do it until the very end of the series. And hopefully when they do decide to make it, it will be at least 2 hours long. I say check this one out if you can, at least once in a theater. Alright, that's my review of South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Leave your answers and thoughts in the comments down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video, subscribe, and hit the bell icon if you're new here. And as always, this is the Canadian Movie Buff And as always, this is the Canadian Movie Buff saying, I hope you had a fantastic weekend at the movies. See ya!